Alright, video number 9 out of 11. Here we go, and we're going to start right here. Continually, and in 1,000 other ways, did she feel the innumerable throbs of anguish that had been so cunningly contrived for her by the undying, the ever-active sentence of the Puritan tribunal. Clergymen paused in the streets to address words of exhortation that brought a crowd, with its mingled grin and frown, around the poor, sinful woman. As she entered a church trusting to share the Sabbath smile of the universal Father, it was often her mishap to find herself the text of the discourse. She grew to have a dread of children, for they had imbibed from their parents a vague idea of something horrible in this dreary woman, gliding silently through the town, with never any companion but one only child. Therefore, first allowing her to pass, they pursued her at a distance with shrill cries, and the utterance of a word that had no distant purport to their own minds, but was none the less terrible to her, as proceeding from lips that babbled it unconsciously. It seemed to argue so wide a diffusion of her shame that all nature knew of it. It could have caused her no deeper pang, had the leaves of the trees whispered the dark story among themselves, had the summer breeze murmured about it, had the wintry blast shrieked it aloud. Another peculiar torture was felt in the gaze of her new eye. When strangers looked curiously at the Scarlet Letter, and none ever failed to do so, they branded it afresh into Hester's soul, so that oftentimes she could scarcely refrain, yet always did refrain, from covering the symbol with her hand. But then again, an unaccustomed eye had likewise its own anguish and inflict. Its cool stare of familiarity was intolerable. From first to last, in short, Hester Prynne had always this dreadful agony in feeling a human eye upon the token. The spot never grew callous. It seemed, on the contrary, to grow more sensitive with daily torture. So this whole passage explains how she's being tortured with her shame. She can't even go to church. She can't walk around the streets without kids mocking her. She can't go to the church without the clergymen making her as an example of sin, right? So she has no safe place in society. And then so she's basically saying here that the token, it's not what I wanted. That the symbol is becoming more and more sensitive, or it's becoming harder to deal with. All right, let's finish up this paragraph right here. But sometimes, once in many days, or perchance in many months, she felt an eye, a human eye, upon the ignominious brand, that seemed to give a momentary relief, as if half of her agony were shared. The next instant back it all rushed again, with still a deeper throb of pain, for in that brief interval she had sinned anew. Had Hester sinned alone? All right, did you catch this? This is kind of important. So, we see here that she says there has been an eye. Whose eye do you think this could be? Right? It's when we see this word ignominious, this word means right here, it means kind of like unseen or unknown, right? There's something unknown that seemed to be giving a momentary relief. There was something that relieved her, right? And then there's an agony. She shares this agony with someone, right? So this means that her lover is still, she comes in contact with her lover, and when she sees him, she's like, her ex-lover, the man that she had an affair with, when she sees him, she starts feeling the burden of her shame is shared, right? But then all of a sudden she feels like she sinned anew just by looking at this man. Had Hester sinned alone? That's a good question. Makes me wonder, who is this man that she sinned against?